Welcome to the lighter side of the spectrum, the podcast that celebrates the multiple hats we wear and the juggling acts we perform in life. Whether you're parenting kids and teens on the autism spectrum, navigating the ever-evolving healthcare industry, or building a more inclusive and impactful world, this is your space to find connection, inspiration, and growth. Together, we'll share stories, tackle challenges, and explore how innovation and inclusion create better outcomes for everyone. Because no matter the spectrum, there's always a lighter side. Now here's your host, David Coffer.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the lighter side of the spectrum. I'm David Coffer. Have you ever wondered what happens when a dad doesn't just accept the tools handed to him, but actually builds new ones for his child? Today's guest did exactly that. When the standard spelling lessons didn't inspire his son, he created a brand new AI-powered app that makes learning personal, engaging, and honestly pretty amazing. We're talking about advocacy, creativity, and what it looks like when a parent steps up and builds a bridge that frankly didn't exist before. So today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Japhet Stevens, a software developer, husband, father of 2 boys from New Hampshire. His son Indigo is 8, minimally speaking, and like so many of us, Japhet was searching for the right tools to help his son. And that search led him to spelling to communicate, and eventually to build his own platform, which is called Spellership. And this tailors spelling lessons to each child's interest. And it's super cool. And he's going to give us a demo of it a little bit later after we talk about it and talk about his journey. So with all of that, Japhet, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, David. Really glad to be on here.
Oh, yeah. Really thrilled. And this is such a cool platform. I love seeing the synergy of technology, kind of your background, combining with spelling to communicate. But let's go ahead and get to the origin story to begin with and where it all began. Can you talk about what it was like discovering spelling through JB's book and just kind of your journey to this point?
Yeah, that's really where it began, was actually JB's book, and I wasn't even looking for that sort of thing. I was, it just came across. I was reading a blog about autism, and yeah, it just kind of popped up. I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then so I read it, and oh boy, that just like ignited a spark. I mean, whew, what an emotional read to follow his son as he goes 17 years of not
17
speaking.
years. Yeah.
I mean,
which is similar to my son, by the way. That's kind of how we got connected. Separate story, but yeah, it was 17 years. It's very similar.
Yeah. And I'm, of course, relating to my own son of 7, who was 7 at the time. Now he's 8, but he, I wanted that for him. I wanted that communication, to open up for him as well, and to free him in that way too. And then I watched the documentary, and then pretty much within a month, I had booked a session with the local practitioner.
Oh, great!
And we started going. Yeah, we started going weekly. That was last year.
And tell me about that first visit. What was that first visit like for you? Both in terms of kind of before you went, what were your expectations, if you had any, and what was it like?
Before I went, I really didn't know anything about it. I really, the bare minimum that I picked up from what I read, of course, but I just felt like I just don't know where to start. And I was so grateful for the practitioner who was able to get us started on that and show us the ropes. That first session, I know that Indigo, whenever he does something new, it's always a bit of a struggle to do anything new, be in someone else's house and like meet someone new. And
sure. That's a weird environment. Right.
Yeah. And this was no exception. And, she did everything she could to make him feel welcome. But it was the first few sessions were we're just getting used to it, just getting adapted to a new environment was the name of the game there.
And then what about did you have kind of an aha moment, or were you ever concerned, like, hey, this might not work for Indigo, or or were you pretty confident, like you just knew that, hey, we just have to give it time?
Um, you know, I could say that I thought there were times when I thought maybe he's too young because a lot of the spellers that I saw that were having success were a little older. And
Right.
I think there is probably a minimum age for this. I think a 3-year-old is probably not ready. So
Right.
there's some, I don't know where exact it is, and it's different for every speller. It's going to be different. But yeah, there were some like doubts initially for sure.
Sure. Sure.
Um, yeah, once we got going, the first hurdle, the first kind of hurdle, I guess, that I encountered was that the Indigo didn't seem to be so into the material of the lesson. Like
Hmm.
he was kind of getting like what we were doing. He was getting like used to that. But I mean, I know when he's into something. I can tell the difference. He can be really engaged or he can be just yawning. And they say attention doesn't have a look. I get that. But I've
Right.
also seen Indigo when he's like into something, and and he just wasn't. And again, it wasn't the practitioner's fault necessarily. It was just like that this is like kind of where things were, is you had a limited number of lessons and you just go for it. You pick one and you go for it. And the job is more about regulation of the speller, which she did beautifully. She did a fantastic job at that.
What does what has and what does school look like for Indigo in terms of what have you been able to see in terms of education? What was he been exposed to there? Has that been a challenge at all?
Well, so he's we put him into pre-K. We had an IEP when he was, I think, 3 or 4. No, he was
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
And so we had that qualified him for pre-K special ed, and we did that for about 6 months, I think. And it just wasn't really landing for him. Just wasn't the right place for him.
Hmm.
And that's the last time we've been in public school, actually,
Okay.
was back then. And since then, we've had him in speech therapy, occupational therapy, various programs, but not like a traditional public school at all. So we do homeschool,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and we were doing Mita, which is an app that partly inspired Spellership, you could say. Mita is an app for autistic kids, and
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard of that before.
yeah, yeah, I'm surprised at how it's very few people have that I've talked to about it, and it's actually pretty good. And I would say that Mita inspired Spellership in part because it was like, an app that I could see how it was made. You can kind of see, okay, I can see how they made this, and
Hmm.
and thinking about the intricate details of like how did they come up with the levels that it progresses the uh the autistic kids through, and really interesting app. Yeah, check it out if you have some time.
I'll definitely check it out. Yeah. So, okay, so you didn't run into some of the problems that many of us did in terms of public school. You got kind of ahead of that by homeschooling. But I'm sure that, again, there were some challenges in terms of, especially from a communication standpoint. Um,
Definitely. Yeah, we did
yeah.
have tutors, and yeah, it was challenging for that reason, partly because it was a lot of like you might say baby talk was the most common way of communicating, like just 2-word sentences, which to be fair, that's what Indigo shows when he's talking.
Right.
Um, and so that's kind of how she reciprocated, was with those kind of basic 2-word sentences. And um, you know, I but I also know when I'm talking to him, it's kind of more like I speak pretty normally to him. So that was one challenge. It's just finding the people who know that there is a competent, understanding individual behind a, a facade of apraxia.
Right. Right. I think that's huge. And that's looking back, one of the things that just makes me cringe the most is when I see and think about how others treated our son, and even us to a certain degree in terms of the language we used and some of the assumptions, before we were able to fully presume competence. Like I said, the baby talk, and you're just like, it's just kind of cringeworthy because you just realize, like, again, if someone were to do that to us, we'd want to throat punch them.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
maybe I would.
there's,
Maybe that's a little strong. So,
yeah. And I'll also say that she was, just doing her best, based on what
oh,
she knew,
of
and trying
course.
to reach him as best she could, as best she thought she could. So, but yeah, that is a challenge of like when someone can't communicate, how do you teach them? What do you teach them?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's kind of more of a systemic issue than just an individual issue. And like I said, definitely have practitioners who are in this field or are in it for the right reason. I mean, they want to help and they want to help our kids. So let's talk
Yeah.
about, getting back, you said he wasn't, Indigo wasn't really engaged by some of the lessons that you saw or some of the subject material that came along with it. Um, what prompted you to just say, "Hey, I'm going to create something different here"?
Well, I was learning an engine called Godot. It's an engine. It's a game engine that lets you make apps. Um,
Oh, okay.
and I was already learning that because I wanted to make a game. I had this game in mind, and while learning that, I made a game of memory. It's just basically a basic memory game for Indigo, and we played that, and he liked it, and that kind of got the motor running, you might say, and then when it was clear to me that Indigo was just not into the lesson material that was being presented, I know I raised that issue with the practitioner, and I got the sense that she might have been a little constrained by her license, perhaps. I think
Hmm.
this is a, I think this is an issue with some of the methodologies out there is that they have this methodology, this like a prescribed one size fits all. This is what you're going to do, and this is how it works.
Right.
And so she was kind of boxed in by that. I think she did her job just fine. Like she did follow that methodology very well, as far as I could tell.
Mm.
Um, but it just wasn't landing. So when I brought this up, um, there was some resistance there. It's like, well, this is how she was taught to speak to teach, and so this is
Right.
how she's going to do it, and she wants to, abide by her license. Which, okay, I get that. So I just, but it was frustrating. It was frustrating to continually bring up this issue, and anyway, I decided, you know what, I'll make some of my own material at home. I'll make something that I think will be more engaging to him. That it'll be about his life. And I made an app where and it's actually still online. It's called Spellerstar.com. This is the very, very first version of it. And it's just all of like his life. I went on Amazon's AWS and typed in a
Hmm.
bunch of passages about his life, about the Legos he was into, like he was into Mario and Batman, and just typed it up and then hit download, which would download an MP3 of that whatever I typed in. Now I could have just spoken these myself, but I thought it'd be a little more interesting to have the app speak the passages. Indigo loved it. He was just enamored by an
That's
app that knew
awesome.
him, an app that knew about his life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just seeing how much more engaged he was with that, and it had questions, it had answers, and he'd have to type them in. Just way more engaged. It was night and day compared to a paper lesson with here's a stencil, which by the way, I think works great for some people. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. If that works for your speller, that's wonderful. But it just for Indigo, he really much preferred the app in this case.
That's brilliant. It's so interesting, and I know that you're using, AI to power the new app that you'll be showing off a little bit, but just that whole, the impact that it's having in this area is something I didn't really think about. Again, I'm not like super in on AI or wasn't until within the last year or two, like so many others. But
Same.
we've utilized it a lot in kind of a somewhat similar way, Jeff, in the sense that we've kind of have our own personalized AI for Stone. That, like you said, he interacts with. She's able to help with homework, kind of act as a default therapist, just talk, and it's just that interaction, having someone non-judgmental, who knows him, understands him. It's incredibly powerful. And I think that's really cool. Like that's such a powerful tool. It's one of the things I want, guys like us to get out there to parents, that this is something that, gosh, I wish I had 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I remember one of your episodes you were talking about this assistant. I don't know what you called her, but you had an episode where you pretended to have a business behind this, and you were um, presenting her as the what was it, the CEO maybe of the company?
She was, I think she was, what was her title? We came up with, I think it was like a CTO or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
It had technology bent to it.
I love that episode. I was
Oh,
it
great.
just really got my gears turning about like, okay, well, yeah, if he's doing this with AI, I wonder how I could incorporate something like that into Spellership, and so I did, and I think it could be developed even further. But I love that idea of like letting AI kind of take another side of the conversation and drive forward in a way that inspires more spelling and more communication.
It's amazing. And I think we're just on the tip of the iceberg. And I can't tell you how much that means to me for you to say that you heard that and you're taking, because it's going to take brains and ideas like yours and others, right, to kind of push this further, because this is just the beginning. I mean, we really are just kind of the front end of this
Yeah,
revolution.
yeah. I feel like AI is like it's not quite 100% up to the task. I had to
Yeah.
really wrestle it to get it to where it is presenting lessons. But oh my goodness, like imagine in a year what it's going to be capable of delivering. You know, not, like personal, nuanced, like to exactly what that person needs to. It's just going to get better at that.
Yeah. It's really exciting. So how long did it take you to build this? I mean, again, you're a software developer, so I'm sure it would take me a heck of a lot longer or whatever, but like tell me about the process of building it out and testing it, and where are you at now?
Yeah, I started in January with that first initial try. Like I'll just try it. Let's see if Indigo likes this. And when he did, I thought, okay, let's make it better. And then I posted about it on the Spellers community on
Uh-huh.
Facebook and got a huge reply there, like huge response. So many people were just really wanting to know more about it. Didn't expect that at all. I just wanted to share it, I just wanted to share it. But a lot of
That's
people were
great.
interested.
I remember that. I do remember seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that definitely inspired me to keep going, And throughout this whole journey, this whole year, I've been working on it like all year. It's been a lot of I can attribute a lot of the me keep going, my perseverance to those types of responses. It's like, oh, people really want this. Okay. Indigo really wants this. Okay. I should do this. This is what I should do this year. I should drop everything else and just focus on that. I did hire a couple people. Um, and one of them's actually still working for me on the back end services, the API. I did all the code. Well, not all. I did most of the code for the front end for the app itself. That's
Okay.
The Godot engine, and I did a lot of the back end code as well. But I did have some help with both of those too. Yeah, we're up to now. It's been, I think, 8 months of working on it, and I'm at the cusp of release. In fact, maybe by the time this episode's out, it might be out. But it's
Okay.
like
Yeah.
just putting the
I'm
final finishing touches on it.
for posterity's sake, we're early September. So we'll see if probably this will come out a little later in September. So we'll see if it
Yeah.
will be out there. Like I said, you've been kind enough to share it with me, kind of give me a little beta preview, and I've been playing around with it. And it's really cool. Like I just love the idea of being able, because again, I think it fits in with me so well because just being creative and like wanting to create lessons or whatever, writing, as you've seen probably in the spellers community and elsewhere, I've been doing my share of writing and being creative. So it fits in really well. But again, especially for people who, well, first of all, lessons are kind of hard to get now. I think
Hmm.
I think that's kind of a challenge. And for those who are listening to that may not understand, kind of again, I'll step back just a little bit in terms of just kind of the spelling and spelling to communicate world in terms of how it kind of works when especially early on when you're learning the spelling, when you're working with the child or the individual and teaching the motor skills is you want to have lessons about a particular topic, and they're kind of divided up into different sections, and so that you can have breaks. You read it out loud. You can take a break. You can ask the speller to spell certain words from it. So there's a whole methodology, as Japhet, as you alluded to, right? That they've kind of got down to a T based on the level of competency and fluency, however you want to describe it, their
Yeah,
spelling.
the structure they've come up with is really brilliant. I, and I've done a lot of research since starting the app. I took training in one of the methodologies. I read a book on another
That's
methodology. I learned a lot of books, a lot of
wow, that's great.
biographies, and yeah, the basic. I've tried to basically combine three of those methodologies into this app, and so you can pick what you want out of that. Where RPM will suggest that you do multiple choice questions, and the other two say that no, you should not do multiple choice. You
Okay,
you
yeah.
have the option in this app to do either one. Yeah, the structure they've come up with is a progression. It's like you start with the simplest question of spell aardvark or whatever the word is,
Yeah, right.
and that's the question. And so they're just meant to spell aardvark, and then it progresses from there to where you're reading a passage about aardvarks, perhaps, and then instead of spelling aardvark, it's like, well, what do aardvarks eat? And
Right.
and the
Yeah.
passage just, the passage just said what they ate. So that's the next cognitive level of, all right, well,
Yeah. They
now
have to
we're
recall it and spell it.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
we're building that pathway in the brain to an idea and a response through spelling.
Right. And then it progresses from there. And then you have to give longer answers and again, eventually to the point where they become what they call open spellers. That
Hmm.
was a term I had to learn because I would see it be thrown. Is your speller open? Are they open? Like, what does open mean?
Yeah, and that's where they're able to, you can ask them any question, and it's not spell aardvark. It's not even a question about something they just read. It's like whatever's in their head. You ask them, how do you feel about aardvarks?
Right.
And so it's, yeah, open question. So the app incorporates all those. It progresses. It gives the user the option to go, to whatever level they want, but has all those types of questions so that they can start wherever they're at and progress from there.
Well, you want to take a spin through it and give us a little preview through Spellership and kind of
Yeah,
a real-time demo.
sure. Let's
And
see. Let me share my screen here.
yeah, that'd be great. This will be especially helpful for our YouTube viewers, but for those of you on Spotify or audio version, we will talk through it, and there is an audio component to the app as well too that you'll hear shortly. But it's really cool.
Yeah, so what you're looking at here is this is when you first open the app. Now, you can actually go to spellership.com and see the same thing. It's a fully functional version of the app. What you see here is each one of these boxes is a lesson. So there's a lesson, for example, here on poetry. If I click that, I can play the lesson. So the app will actually present the lesson. Um, and then there's also a PDF button. So let's go to
Hmm.
that PDF button first, actually, because I can then show you what I was referring to. There it is. Oh, that
It's
doesn't
probably
work.
a different window,
No, it's
right?
a different
Yeah,
window.
yeah, yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind. Let's
That's
skip it.
okay. That's all right. But yeah, so you can open up the PDF. And just a quick
Yeah.
question. So these are lessons. that have been already created. They're not created on the fly. These are just lessons that are just available for anyone who comes into the app.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think that's one of the key features of the app actually is that there's a whole library of lessons. And let me go back for a second because I have Indigo just for fun. I put his age at 18 years old.
Okay.
Let me jump over back to where his actual age, 8, and it'll load a completely different set of lessons.
Oh, wow.
There's lessons
Totally
for,
different. Right.
yeah, completely different. And it's the topics are more age appropriate and the content itself, like the AI has been told, like this is for 8-year-olds. So make it for
Wow.
8-year-olds. Or actually it's 9-year-olds. There's 5-year-olds, 7, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 23. And so based on whatever your age you put here, it'll load that set of lessons. So um so yeah, this is we'll get into rockets here just to show you what one of these looks like. That's the latest lesson that was made yesterday. And I'll just play the first sentence.
Okay.
Rockets are
Yeah.
machines that can travel into space.
Okay. So there's a whole paragraph, but that's, that's the app. You just heard the app reading
I
the
wanted to
lesson.
hear the lesson. No, I'm just kidding. Right. So there's a
And
whole lesson. And again,
mhm,
for listeners, again, there's audio version. You can click on the button, and of course, it's written out. And then there's a
mhm.
keyboard, visual keyboard below.
Yeah. And you don't have to have the app read it. Indigo likes that. Some spellers won't, I'm sure. You can just read it yourself. When you're done reading the passage, then there's this question button that you press, and now you have another screen that gives you a range of questions that you can ask. Now, I'm on a limited QWERTY keyboard at the moment. Let me actually
Hmm.
just jump over to the full 26 QWERTY just so you can see that will enable more questions. If you have all 26 letters, you're going to have open questions enabled, as well as more semi-open questions.
And that
And
amazed me, Japhet. Sorry to interrupt it again, just from a feature standpoint. I thought that was so cool that you have these options for the different keyboards and like letterboards too, that can be, you just click on it and again it appears on the screen. So it's very flexible depending on the user.
yeah, I'm hoping to accommodate everyone's needs here. It also supports an external keyboard, including the sideboard. That's the one, I don't know if you know what that is. That's the
No, I don't.
gigantic 26, looks like a stencil, but it's a keyboard.
Oh, okay.
And then it has the 26 in here. It has the 3 board, which means the arrangement where you have 3 boards
Yep,
of
yep.
letters.
Yeah, where it's
And
the alphabet's essentially divided into thirds.
right, exactly. Yeah. So it has yeah, those are the options. And then the external, of course, external keyboard means you could really use anything. And yeah, so the most common question I think will be the known question, which is the green, which is right here. What do rockets travel into? I think that's the answer is space, maybe. This is, keep in mind this is for 8-year-olds. Space,
Yeah,
there it is.
right.
I just typed in space. Um, and so you have the option to choose your difficulty. Now you have this spell machines. You could choose that, and literally that's what it's asking you to
Just
do.
spell it out.
Machines.
Right.
Yeah. And then when you're ready, you go to the next passage. Every lesson has 7 passages, and every passage has a number of questions associated with them. So this is a different set of questions now, like what escapes from the nozzles? Has previous knowledge questions. Like this one says, what barrier must rockets
Hmm.
break to go faster than sound? Pretty obvious, right? But some of them are harder than that. And then semi-open, which means that it'll have more than one answer in the paragraph like this one says, what's one thing that the main body holds? And so the paragraph had a number of things that apparently the main body holds. And so the speller is meant to choose just one of those. That is a stepping stone to the openness that we were talking about earlier, where in this case, the question does come from the paragraph, but they have to choose. They have to choose one of the answers themselves. That's the stepping stone to the open questions that I have below.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to see an open question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. So we'll jump over to the 26 here and we'll do this one. Let me unmute it first. and we'll jump into this.
If a rocket's fins could talk, what would they say during a
Hmm.
flight?
Yeah,
What would they
that's
say,
great.
David?
What would they say? Um, Man, I'm cold out here.
Hmm.
A-N-I-M-O.
Oops.
Oh,
Well, I'm going to
D-T.
leave that.
E-R-E-E-E-R.
There. I'm just going to put some typos in there and see if it
Okay.
figures it out.
Man, I'm holding out here. I
Nope.
can just imagine the fins shouting that as they stabilize the rocket.
So what you just saw there was it did its best to try to correct it.
Yeah.
That was a tough one. And then it also had a conversational response to the open question. And that's meant to just further engage the speller and give them some kind of feedback, some kind of confirmation that, yes, I heard you. I heard what you just said. Let's do one
What
more.
shape do you think a rocket's body looks most like?
What shape do you think a rocket's body looks
Um,
most like?
a cylinder.
C-Y-L-I-N-D-A-R.
Again, I'm going to typo that,
Mhm.
but
Cylinder. I can see why you'd think of a rocket's body as a cylinder with its long, tubular shape.
yeah. So that's it. Those are
Perfect.
title thing
Right. That's great.
questions
Yeah.
where they're just like one word answers.
But
And then
it's
there's,
interaction too, which is cool.
yeah, a little back and forth. I want to develop that further. I think that could be, I think it could go further than that to where there's maybe a conversation happening too. But that's kind of where, that's the start of it right now, is where it's
Yeah.
asking about the material that they just read.
I was just thinking as you're saying that that could be cool, but I could also see where it also could be a little bit challenged because you can go down that rabbit. Like if the goal is to do I guess it gets back to what's the goal? Is it to complete the lesson, or is it simply to? I mean, to me, it's just to have them practice typing or communicating, and to me, it's all about communication, right? Like that. That's why you don't worry about things like typos or whatever. It's just, hey, you're just getting that motor working, you're getting them communicating. So I guess I'd be less concerned about how tied to the lesson it is if you do go down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like thinking out loud in terms of that capability.
hmm Yeah, it wouldn't have to necessarily be tied to a lesson. My thought there is that maybe a lesson would give some structure to it and it's like a launching point for it.
Right.
And maybe also some familiarity for those spellers who are already in this world, who are already familiar with the way that works. But yeah, sure, it could also just be a free form conversation. The idea being just, yeah, to practice spelling. And if you can practice that with someone who's like listening to you, now if you can do that with someone else, great. That's amazing too. But if you don't have someone, if you're not surrounded with people who have infinite amounts of time, then this can be a supplement to that.
hmm Oh, I'm super excited about this because I think it has so much potential in the educational field. Again, I'm thinking about the classes that Stone has been taking, the high school level classes now. Like, yeah, he's done really well with most of his classes, but he finally hit his first challenge, which was biology, which is hard. There's like a lot of vocabulary and a lot that goes. But
Mm.
I was thinking like something like this would be like such a great way to learn more or supplement what he's learning, or and to deepen that knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. Um, I'm also excited about the fact that you can create any lesson you want with this app. There's this button here, create lesson.
Hmm
And yeah, if you want a biology subject or even, you could like type in any term you want. Um, Algae, whatever it
hmm
is, frog legs, chickens, anything that you want to go into, you can make your own lesson here, and the AI will make it not only about that topic, but it'll be for that age, your
Oh,
speller's age,
right,
whatever you choose.
right, whatever age you've put in there. Or
Yeah,
does
yeah, and that's that's of course back to the reason why I started this was like I want spellers to be engaged with the material, like have it be something that they want to learn about and that they're motivated to learn about. So if your son, it sounds like he's probably motivated to get through biology um, there's various reasons why that he might be motivated to get through biology, but this would allow him to really explore those topics specifically. in
Hmm.
that context.
Exactly. Yeah, and it would make it a lot more interesting too, depending on those topics that maybe you're not as, it kind of could help create some of the motivation that may not exist with kind of traditional um, curriculum or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we all remember, I think we all remember sitting in school and learning about something we just didn't really care about, and being that's what you had to do. And that is the classic school paradigm, is that we're all going to learn the same thing, whether you're
Hmm.
interested in it or not. And there's something to be said for hardship, I suppose. If you do a hard thing and okay, everything else is easier. Um, but but I can also advocate here for like follow your interests. If you're
Oh
interested in learning
yeah.
about Winter Olympics, well, here's a lesson about that. If you're interested in learning about hurricanes, here's a lesson about that. And I think a tailored approach is something that is AI in general, not just this app, but AI in general is going to really explode for kids who really want to dive in deep to the topics they're most passionate about.
Well, yeah, and especially again for like our kids who have been denied that opportunity for so long to really kind of explore what they wanted to explore, to have the education, because they haven't been able to request it or to initiate exploration in many cases, right? You hear the stories of kids, who they kind of learn, from what they've observed from others or maybe from other classrooms or maybe we're reading on their own. But this would now that this is being done in conjunction with spelling and opening them up to communication, man, it gives them a chance to really, like you said, tailor to their interests, which that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited for it. Um, and I'm also pleased to that Indigo is still into this. Like it's been
That's a good
eight months of
point.
this, and he's still coming back. Like he still wants to do it. It's not how it's not as novel as it once was, and but it's still something he wants to do. He wants to learn this, and I'm so grateful for that too. Really, really, none of this would have happened without Indigo. So I can really attribute quite a bit of
Indigo,
this.
yeah, absolutely. Indigo inspired. And this is something that's gonna, I really believe, impact and help so many out there. This is so cool. So you're, like you said, in the process of launching it. What will be the process for people who want to subscribe? Is it going to be a subscription model that you're going to use?
Yeah, the process, well, right now it's free. You can go to Spellership, but again, that might not be by the time this comes out. But yeah, the process will be there's an app that's going to come out for iOS first.
Okay,
Android's coming up next. And so the first thing will be the iOS app probably that people will see, and that will have a subscription for some of the features. So if you don't have a subscription, you'll still be able to access some of the lessons and get started. Like you'll be able to get started on this if you're new. And and I want that. I want people to use this tool and
that's good.
and
Yeah,
have it be, readily available and helpful for those who are just started. And there are two main tiers of subscriptions based on how much you need.
hmm,
There's a basic one with access to most of the lessons, and but you don't get to create any new lessons because there's some AI expenses behind the scenes that have to
sure.
happen, and so that's
Yeah,
for the next tier. If you want to actually make your own lessons, that would be for the next tier of subscription. And I'm hoping people appreciate like find that worth their money. I think they will. I think it's going to be a huge savings in terms of time for them, in terms of finding lessons, creating their own lessons that are on topics that their kids want. My hope is that I can devote more time to developing this even further with the support of the Spellers families and keep working on this. I'd just love to I'd love to keep working on it.
yeah. What's your vision for the future, or are you just kind of taking it one step at a time?
Well, one thing, I mean, I mentioned the AI. I could develop that conversation more. Um, there's this board, I haven't shown it, but there's a board here where it's you can present this version of the app where it's just the board and you can the speller can, punch in the letters they want, and they have the option here then to, well, what I'd like to do is develop that into more of where you could do open questions as well on that board, and it would record the responses, and you'd have a record of,
Oh,
you know,
right.
everything your speller said. And for that matter, I think I could do a better job of giving people a history. Now there are some statistics that you can see here, but I'd love to develop that further. Like if we click on rockets, for those of you still looking at the screen, there's a history of the answers
Oh,
being
right. The
we
answers and yeah.
yeah. And so that's how it is accessed right now. But I'd love to have like graphs of their progress and um, a history of us, especially the open questions and the kind of what they said. And I think it's just so much fun to look back at that and to see how your speller is progressing and to see also kind of what their answers were.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. And I would imagine that there at some point there's got to be some kind of data component to this too that you can incorporate and to quantify progress or things like that as well.
For sure. Yeah. I feel like I'm just getting started with that sort of thing, the analytics. The data's all there. It's a matter of like how do I present it in a way that
Right.
shows exactly the progression. And speaking of progression, I'd also like to add um more of a game to it. Like it's called Spellership. There's a space theme here. I think that could be developed more. I think there could be yeah, more of a game to it. Like it's something where you could maybe unlock the next level of questions. You could unlock more letters on the keyboard, that sort of thing, to make it a little more more motivating, I think, to some.
Yeah. Gamify it, man.
Yeah, exactly. I have all kinds of ideas. We'll see if they get done, but I've like a list, a huge list.
Is there anything, are you looking for, obviously we want people to subscribe, but you also want feedback, right? Or is there anything else? What else can the community do to help support this and push it along?
Oh yeah, share it, just share it with whoever you think might benefit from this. I mean, right now, that's the best thing, honestly, is to share it.
Yeah.
And you can sign up right now, and it's free to sign up the and get started. But and then ultimately, I'd love to have this be something that acts as a bridge to, as you mentioned it as a bridge. Well, I want it to be a bridge to people maybe who've never heard of spelling,
hmm
who maybe their nearest practitioner is 2 hours away, and
Right.
maybe they don't have the money to commit to that sort of thing on a weekly basis. They've, both parents are working, whatever their situation is. I would just love for this to be able to help as many spellers as possible to unlock them from their prison of silence and get them get them communicating, with others. That's what really gets me excited. Besides also helping, of course, my son Indigo,
Of
is to
course, right. But it's that ripple effect that you're creating, Jeff, that I'm so excited about. And I think, in a lot of ways we're kind of, inspired by the same thing and motivated to do, to help the community, help sons like ours. We've seen the impact on them, but we know how many others are out there that we want to help unlock and show their true potential.
yeah. Yeah, as you, yeah, as I'm thinking about all those spellers, I'm also realizing that there's something I need to say here too, which is that this doesn't have to be you on the app with the speller. Says a lot of spellers don't want to be on an app. They don't want to touch a screen to spell. In fact, this is a pretty controversial app just for that reason. It does have a keyboard and it does say, "Hey, you could start here on the screen." But a lot of spellers, they should probably not do that. They should probably start on, you can use the app for the lesson and read the lesson, but
Right,
have them
right.
have them work on the physical board. I think that's going to be a lot of where people should start. It depends on the speller. My son,
Use
he
it,
was
use
just
it.
fine with the app.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because actually that's a good point. When I first came across it, again, it was before I discovered the boards and really understood that there was that component to it. It sounds like I just thought it was really like just for the lessons alone. like I could see the value, like you said, of creating or going through these lessons and then having the boards. I mean, that alone is, I think, hugely valuable. But then to be able to tie it together as you've done, just kind of takes it to the next level. But yeah, I could see where you don't need to do both. It
Hmm.
has value on its own.
Yeah, you really you could just use it for the public lessons that I generate. There's one every day for each age level that comes out, and just download the PDFs for those and do your thing with those if that's how you want to use it. I think if you're brand new to spelling though, that would be a tough route to start because you would really I'd recommend getting someone's help with that if you're going to do it with the physical board.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm hoping this like meets the needs of people who are in various situations, whether they're spellers on someone who wants to type on an app or not.
Right. Oh, no doubt. No doubt it will. Well, thanks for the virtual tour. Let's go ahead and we're going to move on to our weekly segment, which is we have our tip of the week. And I gave you a heads up. So we've got a little jingle that we're going to play here. I think you've listened to the show. So you know.
Hey, parents, gather around, it's time to speak. We're here with your tip of the week. Strategies and wisdom just for you. Autism parents, we know what you go through.
All right, it's time for our tip of the week. And I have a feeling that Japhet has a good tip for us this week.
Yeah, you know, I've my expertise is software. I have I'm very new to spelling, but as a parent, I can say my tip is really just give your give your child some choices. And what I mean by that is the you know the this is where Indigo was really struggling was when he was just given a lesson like here's the lesson we're going to do and you don't have a say in what
Hmm.
lesson we're going to learn. I would say, yeah, give your speller a few choices, like three or four choices as to, and see what they want to learn. Now, I know some spellers, some non-speakers, their apraxia might prevent them from expressing a choice very well. So, I understand that limitation too.
Sure.
Um, but it might look like RPM, where you start with, you're going to say and write down, one topic, and you say and write down another topic, and you just present those two pieces of paper. Let them pick one. You could start there. Um, you know, and I say this in response to what I see as a kind of a pretty rigid, like this is how we're going to do it mentality for a lot of these methodologies. I think there needs to be a little more flexibility, a little more flexibility. So give your kids more
I
choice.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, if
Sorry,
they
I
want
mean to
to,
interrupt. Just go
no,
on. Yeah, I agree. There needs to be more flexibility.
if they want to like pace around the room while you're reading the lesson, okay. Let them do that. Um, if they, want to, fidget with something, great. That's fine. It's not, that's not gonna. I think giving them that freedom, giving them that autonomy is really important to keep
Yeah.
them interested and engaged and feeling like their input is valued and they
I
have,
think
yeah,
that's
agency.
that's so important. Yeah. And the younger you start that the better. Particularly because unfortunately I think that there are cases where some of the therapies that our kids go through in some ways take that agency away from them. Um,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
really unfortunate. And they have to almost like relearn it. The initiation and understanding that, hey, yeah, you can choose. Like you can do this.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes maybe it's just like you can just tell that your child is not into something, and I think that's another thing I guess related to that is just the parent's intuition as to sometimes some choices are not appropriate for some children to make.
Right.
So it's also up to, of course, your intuition as to which choices you do give your child, and of course that grows and grows as they grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that. It's funny, like you said, we do that with our neurotypical children, right? Like you give them some level of autonomy and decision making, but it needs to be age appropriate and depending on their maturity and all that. So
Yeah.
that's great. That's a great tip. All right, let's move on to what about let's do a fact or fiction. Let's cue that one up.
Get QuickTime ready and hear Here we go. This is Autism Fact or Fiction. We're breaking down what's real, what's rumor, and what might surprise you. Let's go.
Now we get to talk about either a stereotype or maybe some kind of myth that's out there and prove or disprove it. And do you have something for us here?
Yeah, the one that's most fascinating to me in this context is there's a theory, there's a big debate about this as to whether spelling works at all.
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
there's a big question out there. There's people who say there's no evidence it works, and there's people who say, well, look at all this evidence that it works. Um, and I think that question, there's extremes on both ends. There's people who are saying, no, it doesn't work for anybody. It's just facilitator influence.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the ideomotor response, like an Ouija board kind of thing, kind of effect. It's like their subconscious. Um, and there are people who seriously will look you straight in the face and say it does not work for anybody,
For
like
anybody.
which yeah. So that's one side. And then the flip side of that, I think, is also worth looking at too, which is the idea that anytime you'll see someone typing an answer on a board, let's say, typing the letters, tapping them, that it's going to be their conscious thought always. And I think that's in the spelling community, that's something that a lot of people do embrace, that they say that is their thoughts. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, well, there's also exceptions to that rule. I think for the most part, sure, there's a lot of definitely a lot of people who can point to examples that where it wasn't their own authorship and where there was facilitator influence. And so I love this question because it reveals that when you ask a black and white question like does spelling work, there's no straight answer to that, yes or no. And I think that there's obviously cases where it does work. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen spellers who are clearly spelling their thoughts. I mean, there's like no way that the facilitator who's there is influencing them to the degree
Right.
of their fluency. They're fluently typing out blah, 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 and they're like done and spelled it perfectly. So try telling that person that it didn't work for them. Like it's clearly,
That's the part that gets me, is just like how can you try to say that somehow that's fake or somehow influenced or whatever when you see these incredible works, things that I've written. My son has written amazing things, and I've sat there and just watched it in real time, whether it's been poems or stories or a song that he wrote called Speech Can Suck It. Like, that is from the heart. Like that's of
yeah.
course, like how can anyone even try to say that that's not his thoughts, his words, and things like that.
I love that
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. Like you said, you talk about that. I mean, I guess I would frame it a little differently in that, does spelling work? Yes. I mean, I think, to what degree? Obviously, again, there's different abilities, capabilities, depending on the level of apraxia that we've seen, motor skills, things like maybe there's some communication partners who are not as skilled and may try to influence. I haven't seen that as much. Going back to the facilitate, I mean, literally FC, right? Facilitated communication, where there's the physical contact that's required as part of FC.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's an example of, well, at that stage, yeah, they are influenced by their facilitator. They're that's the idea. That's how it's designed, is yes, those aren't necessarily their conscious thoughts. They're being told which letter to press, which, that's where you start. And yeah, I would just say that, like, I think most facilitators want to do their best there. They want to pull back. They want to fade those prompts.
Right.
And I think that's the majority. That is what happened when I did the training that I did for spelling. That was emphasized. It was like, we're pulling those back. We're just starting with those, but we're going to pull them back. And I think some people I think that emphasis is needed because some people haven't in the past, and so that maybe gives spelling that reputation of,
Well,
oh, it doesn't work because it's just facilitator influence. All right, there
right.
have been cases. I'm sure there have been cases where it was where a speller who is said to be communicating really it's not. Really, it's not. Okay, that's there are exceptions, but to say that it doesn't
But don't,
work, to say that
yeah, but don't conflate them all. I mean, don't
right.
just say just because there've been a couple, yeah, you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. And so really it's a question of not whether it works or not, not even not even whether it works for most spellers, which I think is an interesting question, but really it's a question of has it worked for a lot of spellers? And it has. And is that enough evidence? I mean, you can find all the evidence if you look around on YouTube. It helps to see it with your own eyes, of course.
Yeah.
It really does. But so much evidence. And if at some point you got to say, well, that's enough. That's enough evidence for me to at least try this and to give this a good shot.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh yeah. We could go on. That could be a long conversation in and of itself, but yeah, no, that's a really good point. All right, what about parent confessions? Let's dive into that.
Morning routines can go astray. Found socks in the fridge one day. Laughter's the best remedy. Hey, we're just finding our own way. Mom, dad confessions every week. Sharing joys and moments we seek. Honest tales that make us unique. Join the club, we're never meek. Tooth fairy left a hole.
All right, that jingle goes on pretty long. Parent confessions. Again, this is our moment of vulnerability where we are transparency, where we admit as great as we are, and you're obviously just a great dad, Japhet. I mean, I could tell how dedicated you are, but we are human. We do make mistakes. We do have moments we look back at, like I said, we either cringe or regret or something. And we like to share those because I think we know it's hard. This is a hard job. It's a rewarding job. It's a hard one too. So do you have anything that you wanted to share with the audience?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is I'll confess that I cried a little bit watching the documentary. That's
Oh
that's
yeah.
and the book Underestimated.
Yeah.
It brought literal tears to my eyes. And but that's not much of a confession. That's just like who wouldn't,
No,
right?
I think that's legit. I mean, I don't, there's still a lot of guys out there that wouldn't admit that.
Well, I'll give you a real confession, too, as well, which is that before before I came across those things, I there were periods when I wasn't looking for solutions.
Yeah.
You know, like there's periods where I was, and then there's periods where it's like, well, that didn't work. Now what? And I just kind of, yeah, like didn't really keep
You
searching.
kind of
I think if,
you kind of coast for a while, right? I think that's common. You hear something, or we read something, we hear something, and then we kind of go, try it out, and then, like you said, then you're not seeing results, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of like you exhale, and you're like, okay, shoot, like
yeah,
now what? Kind of sort of a thing, and it takes a toll. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I give, one of many things in terms of the book, but I think JB really nails is that the whole area of hope, false hope, and managing that. And that just, you go down that road so many times when you're a parent like us, where you have a kid that you're just trying to help. That's all you're trying to do is just help. And you
yeah,
hear all these different options and opportunities or whatever, supposedly things that have worked for this kid, and they don't. And you're just like, okay, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep. So, you know, and in this case, I can't give up on him. It's such an important skill to communicate. Like it hasn't been
It's
an
fun
overnight
to
success, but I've seen progress and what a blessing that is. And to have his interest in it too. He's interested. He wants to learn this. I can tell. That's huge. That's a huge part of it. A huge part of the success that we've had so far with it.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is huge. And that was, again, just tying back to myself, one of the things that was so frustrating, so hard for so many years was just not knowing. Like it's just not knowing where the interest was and what the passion was because it just wasn't able to express it. And once you get that, I mean, just it opens up, it literally opens up humanity, right? That's what makes us human is we talk about what we
Yeah.
like, what we don't like, or what, yeah, I crack up now, almost every day because Stone's 19. I joke because he'll always say, I'm a little mad at you. And there's always something, right? Because teenagers get mad at parents about, okay, what are you mad at me for now? But I'm so grateful that he can tell me that he's mad at me, even if it's for
Hmm.
something that I think is kind of silly. But
Yeah.
that's parenting. That's just parenting.
Yeah. And that reminds me of when your story when you took your son to the football game where you didn't have any sense that he wanted to go that much, right?
Oh,
But
right.
he was able to express that at one point. And I was hoping
So,
he'd
yeah, he made his appearance. Yep,
yeah.
he popped in and ran off laughing.
And to hear him express that, I want that for my son as well. I was able to. I asked him, "Do you want to go to Tampa, Florida, with me last month?" And we went there and visited the Spellers community down there. It was an immediate yes. Like I don't think he knows. I don't know if he knows what Tampa is. He's never been there. That's not true. He was there when he was 2. Anyway,
Well, there you
um,
go.
it was. And I guess I could attribute some of that communication ability to spelling, to his developing ability to communicate what he wants. And it was such a great trip. It was such a wonderful time to have, and so glad I brought him with me.
That's great. I'm glad you did that too. And that must have been really cool to connect with the community down there. I know they have a really strong group. I've had a chance to virtually and in person kind of connect with a couple of people when we went to our the surf camp a few months ago back on the East Coast.
Oh, okay. I heard
Yeah,
something about that. Gosh,
yeah.
that
Well,
sounds fun.
I'll get you the information. You'll have to. It's typically in May. It's down in North Carolina. It's a surf camp.
I've heard they have good surfing there. I used to
Yeah.
surf 20 years ago, maybe, but it's been a while.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, we'll definitely have to, and I'll promote it on here as well through the Peyton Project, which is a great foundation. Reminds me, I have to get them on here. We've talked about getting them as well, doing some great work, and Peyton's doing some really cool stuff as a speller in Tennessee.
Okay, I've heard that name. It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny because
Peyton.
yeah, as we get immersed in the community, and especially now with the Facebook groups and all that, we kind of start seeing some of the overlap, or like I've
Yeah,
seen that name, or who are they? And start connecting the dots.
there are some famous spellers. I mean, once you get yourself immersed in this, you're like, oh, that guy. Wow, yeah, I've heard of him. He was on telepathy tapes.
And we have a mutual connection, which is how I learned about. I saw the post, but also Randy had reached out to me, made
Hmm.
sure that I was aware of it, and it sounds like he's helping you out a little bit. And Randy's going to be actually a guest on the pod. We're going to be doing our episode later this week, so stay tuned for that.
Great, great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm super grateful to Randy for connecting us.
he's a great guy, and he's a fellow Oregon Duck fan, like I
Mhm.
like I am. So I've
It's
got
funny because I
my
used to live in Corvallis, which is the Beavers.
oh yeah, my
Yeah,
brother's a Beaver. Oh, I didn't
mm,
realize that.
yeah,
So you know that area well.
yes,
You know how avid those Duck fans can be.
hmm yeah, yeah. A big deal. It's a really big deal.
It's a
Football
big
over
deal.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, Japhet, thank you so much for joining me and for sharing this. Like I said, everyone out there, check it out. I think it's going to be a great tool that's really going to help our community, help our kids a lot. Provide, subscribe, provide feedback. I mean, this is really just kind of the early stages of it, and I'm so thrilled that you can work on it and launch it.
Thanks, David. I appreciate your support on this and letting me share this with your audience. That means a lot to me to be able to speak about it and share this just as it's being released, this month.
Yeah,
So really
I'm
appreciate it.
really. Oh yeah, it's my pleasure, and we'll get like I said, let's get you back on in 6 9 months. Let's talk about what you're learning, and I'm sure you're gonna have like a kind of like entirely new vision for it by that time because this thing it happens. Things are happening so quickly in our world.
Yeah, yeah. the way AI is developing, it will be probably a totally different product by then.
Totally
see.
different. And for those of you watching and listening, thank you for joining. Please make sure that you leave us a review. Send me an email, david.coffer@hey.com. Stone says hi. Yeah, we are okay. We are okay. Stone Coffer. And we'll catch you next time on the lighter side of the spectrum.